There was a point in history, in time, when the women's strawweight division was considered the best women's division in UFC history. I don't know if some people still think that, but in my opinion, today, in 2024, I believe the women's strawweight division has fell off by a lot. It used to be super stacked to now super stagnant. One of the most competitive, exciting divisions in women's MMA history. And now, honestly, I think that title, that crown goes to women's flyweight, because now women's flyweight has evolved. Now you have a bunch of actual good, solid contenders in the women's flyweight division. You got Grasso as the champion, Valentina still at the top, Manon Fiorot, Erin Blanchfield, even though she got exposed, she'll bounce back, she'll rebound, make another run. Macy Barber surging up. You got Rose Namajunas, who's in the top 5 now, who's making a run in the flyweight division, on the cusp of a potential title shot at women's flyweight. She's an exciting new addition to the top of this division. Very exciting times right now to be a fan of the women's flyweight division. Okay, the top of this division is extremely competitive, and that's usually what happens when a dominant champ loses. Valentina losing added some life to this division. But can I say the same thing for strawweight at this time? I honestly cannot. Like, women's flyweight has some life to it. Strawweight, honestly, is a dead division. Like, it's dead in the water. And that just kind of begs the question, I mean, what happened to strawweight? Because it used to be, like, my favorite women's division ever. But now, like, the only like fighters, in my opinion, that are like worth watching or worth getting excited for is the champion Zhang Weili, and then the number 1 contender Tatiana Suarez. And that's like literally the only fight that I care about, that I'm actually excited to see. Whereas the rest of the fight, I don't really care. I could really care less about the rest of these contenders. I used to care about Dern, but she's just useless and just absolutely sucks and is really good for nothing other than her looks. So I don't really care about her fight. She's one-dimensional. She got exposed multiple times now, so who cares about her? I mean, Jessica Andrade is there. She's exciting, but I'm not really a fan of hers, and I don't know. She's not really all the way there anymore. Barely even won her last fight against the other girl, Marina Rodriguez, who used to have a lot of hype, but I've been saying for years I'm not sold on Marina. She's been exposed by now multiple times. Exposed by Jandiroba, exposed by Lemos. Already had that loss to Carla years prior. Couldn't get the job done against this current version of Jessica Andrade. And then there's Verna and Lemos. And I'm going to get into that fight in a moment. And then there's Yan Xiaonan. Now, Yan Xiaonan is actually a really, really good striker. But the problem with her is, if you put her up against anyone with really solid wrestling, grappling ability, you know she's more than likely going to lose that fight. So yeah, she's a good striker who can't defensively wrestle, which is a problem. But yeah, again, all these contenders, like, there's really no excitement to anybody in this division. They all suck, apart from Tatiana and Zhang Weili. Whereas before, strawweight, from when it first opened up in 2014, all the way till like 2019 is when it was at its peak. Well, not necessarily around 2014-15. It was an okay division. Yeah, Joanna is the champion. I feel like it kind of got good around 2016, 17-ish. But okay, let's see. So 2015, Joanna becomes the champion, dethrones Carla Esparza. And then she kind of had that division that was just developing all to herself. But then end of the year, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, who was undefeated at the time, enters the UFC, makes some noise. Claudia Gadelha was always in the picture and kind of the second best to Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Joanna was like her only kryptonite at the time. So we had Claudia Gadelha, who was beating everyone else, exciting contender. And then Carolina, who came to the UFC, another exciting contender in her prime. Yeah, both of them lost to Joanna, but outside of Joanna, they were beating everybody else. So you kind of had that big three at strawweight around 2016-17, which was Claudia Gadelha, the number one contender, the number two girl, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and then the champion, Joanna. And then you had Rose not trailing too far behind. And then Jessica Andrade, just started making her way into the division around 2016. So you had a few good, exciting contenders around that time. 2016 is when that division actually started to enter its more competitive phase. When Andrade comes to the division, you still got Rose in the top five. And then you got Carolina and Claudia, and you got Joanna as the champ. 5 really good fighters to be excited about in the strawweight division. And then, okay, Jessica Andrade, she gets her shot at Joanna, loses, and then she bumps Claudia out of the picture, and then Gadelha is washed up, diminished, not the same fighter after that beating she suffered. But now you got Jessica Andrade as the number one girl in the strawweight division in 2017. And prior to that fight, you had Claudia Gadelha versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Claudia wins that fight. Karolina bounces back, and then Claudia goes on to lose to Jessica and completely falls off a cliff. But okay, you still have Kowalkiewicz, you still have Jessica Andrade, and then Rose becomes the strawweight champion of the world. She shocks the world, defeats Joanna, the great Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Now the division has even more life to it. Jessica Andrade continues to win and earns herself a shot at the title. Also after bumping out Karolina Kowalkiewicz out of the picture and completely washing her up. So now, we lose out on girls like, Claudia and Kowalkiewicz, but we still got Jessica. We got Rose as the champion, Joanna as the number one girl in the division. And then 2018 is when you had the likes of Zhang Weili and Tatiana Suarez breaking through that year. Weili made her debut in 2018. Tatiana Suarez debuted through Tough in 2016, but she didn't really start to get that push, or she didn't really start to get noticed until around 2018. But again, now you got the likes of Tatiana and Weili. At the time, Weili was unranked, but her time was going to come very soon. Once she got that, top 10 opponent in Tisha Torres, which got her in the top 10. So you got the dark horse in Zhang Weili in the picture now. And then let's get to Tatiana Suarez. After beating Alexa Grasso, she gets given a former champion, in Carla Esparza, which that dominant win got her straight into the top 5. So now in the year 2018, you got Tatiana Suarez, and then you got Jessica Andrade, number one contender. And you got Joanna, number 2 in the division, and then Rose as the champion. So there were other fighters in the top 5 around that time as well, but the likes of Carolina and Gadelha, their times have came to an end, and they went on to suck and be completely washed. But again, you had girls like Suarez, you had Jessica, who just had an impressive knockout over Kowalkiewicz. You had Joanna, who is still in the picture, and the champion, Rose Namajunas. So that's a competitive 4-wave of fighters right there to be excited about in the women's strawweight division. And then, of course, like I said earlier, Zhang Weili goes on to crack the top 7 by beating Tisha Torres. Now you got Zhang Weili, Tatiana Suarez, Joanna, Jessica, and Rose, all in the primes of their careers, in the top of the strawweight division in 2019. That's peak freaking strawweight right there. What an exciting time to be a fan of that division. Like, am I wrong? Can you look at that wave of fighters and tell me that around that time at strawweight, can you look at me with a straight face and tell me strawweight in 2024 is better than strawweight in 2019? Like, come on. Like, the fact that literally there is a potential title eliminator tonight in the women's strawweight division going down between Amanda Lemos and Verna Jandiroba, and literally nobody cares. Nobody's excited about that fight. Says a lot. Whereas all the other girls I mentioned prior to this point I'm making now, could you imagine if, let's say, Jessica didn't wait for a title shot at Rose, and let's say they made Jessica Andrade versus Tatiana Suarez as a title eliminator, as a 5-round main event on a fight night? I can promise you the attitudes that fans have towards this fight tonight would be completely different if it was prime Jessica versus Tatiana on the come up in 2019. Fans would be way more excited for that matchup than they are for the matchup tonight. I know that fight already went down in 2023, but I'm talking hypotheticals. If, like, let's say in a parallel timeline, again, Jessica doesn't wait for Rose, who is inactive at the time, and she takes a fight with Tatiana. That fight at that time when Jessica was on that run and Tatiana on her pre-injury run, again, fans would actually give a crap to tune in and watch. People would literally be invested to see who's going to be the next title challenger for Thug Rose in 2019. Jessica or Tatiana. Nobody gives a crap about Lemos fighting for the belt again. She already got dog-walked by Wei Li. Nobody cares to watch Verna fight for the title. Like, people at the time cared to see Andrade fight for the belt or Tatiana fight for the belt. Or what if they would have made Tatiana versus Wei Li in 2019? Again, people would actually care to watch. If they made Tatiana versus Joanna or Joanna Wei Li prior to either of them being in the title picture, again, fans would tune in. Fans would actually care. That just speaks volumes to how much this division has fallen from grace. It has not been the same ever since the pandemic, and I'm going to explain what exactly went wrong with this division. So, okay, y'all know the story. Jessica dethrones Rose and then loses the belt to Wei Li. Wei Li has that banger of a fight with Joanna. But then again, here's what went wrong. So in 2019, Tatiana has that title eliminator with Nina Ansaroff, but then she has the neck injury, which took her out of the picture for a couple of years. And to add insult to injury, she gets a new injury, a knee injury. So Tatiana is completely gone. So there is one exciting contender. And then what else happened? Okay, so then Rose gets the belt back from Zhang Wei Li and then loses the belt to Carla Esparza. Okay, then Rose leaves the division. So we don't have Rose Namajunas in this division, who clearly was one of the best fighters in the strawweight division. She's gone. She's out. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, this is the point I forgot to make. After Joanna Jędrzejczyk lost to Wei Li the first time, she basically retired after, and then she came back 2 years later to get retired for good in the rematch, but basically she took herself out of the picture for 2 years. So in 2020, no Tatiana Suarez, no Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and then of course 2022, Rose gets bumped out of the picture. So again, we lost Suarez for a few years. We lost Joanna and we lost Rose from this division. And another thing that was problematic for the women's strawweight division, around the beginning of the pandemic, Carla Esparza somehow started making this like resurgence back to the top. I don't know how she did it, but she did. She fraud checks Marina Rodriguez, who a lot of us were hyping up even after Carla beat her. I don't know why. And then Carla Esparza completely destroys Yan Xiaonan, fraud checks her, earns herself a title shot. So there's another problem. No Joanna, no Tatiana Suarez, and Carla Esparza in 2020, 2021, 2022 is your number one contender in the women's strawweight division. That is a problem. And then here's where it gets really bad. Carla Esparza beats Rose to get the belt back because Rose had stage fright. And now in 2022, Carla is your strawweight champion again. And then bye-bye goes Rose, takes time off, goes to a new division. So, okay, no Rose, again, no Tatiana, no Joanna, and then Joanna comes back, loses to Wei Li, she's gone, and then Zhang Wei Li, by the grace of God, well, not really the grace of God, she's just better, gets Carla the hell out of there, gets the belt back, but now what? Who really else is there? Okay, Tatiana in 2023 comes back, makes her return to the Strawweight division, defeats Jessica, and now she is the number one contender in the division. But again, that's really all we have right now. All we have is Tatiana and Zhang Wei Li. We don't have anything else going for us in the women's strawweight division. Yan Xiaonan is pretty exciting to watch, but again, you put her up against a well-rounded, complete fighter, it might not go well. So I'm not too thrilled about Yan in that sense. And then same thing with Amanda Lemos. She doesn't have good takedown defense. And there's a reason why I didn't do a prediction video for Amanda Lemos versus Verna Jandiroba, because that fight is just anything but interesting. Verna Jandiroba sucks. She's not an exciting fighter. She lost to Amanda Ribas. She lost to Dern, who Lemos just barely beat in that last fight. She lost to Carla Esparza, okay? And then again, Amanda Lemos, I mean, she's a power merchant, but she's really not that good of a fighter. So what was there exciting to talk about this fight? You know what I mean? Like right now, I think strawweight is sort of in the dark ages and it needs some tweaking. Strawweight is in a very low state, but honestly, it feels like strawweight is sort of like beyond saving at this point, because you got Wei Li, two-time champion, she is a dominant champion, and usually when you have a champ who's been champ for so long and is just so much better than everyone else behind her, the division itself is just kind of boring. I mean, the only one she's not that much better than is Tatiana. Tatiana is her only real challenge. That's why I'm praying Tatiana can stay healthy and this fight with Wei Li can be guaranteed to go through, because I do not want to see, by the end of the year, Lemos Wei Li 2 or Lemos versus Verna, because I do not give a crap about these two against Wei Li. I really don't care, okay? The fact that this division only has two elite and kind of dominant fighters who are worth getting excited about says a lot, okay? Yan Xiaonan, great striker, but too one-dimensional for my liking. Amanda Lemos, overrated power merchant. Jessica Andrade, still dangerous, but washed. Verna, boring, not that good. Marina Rodriguez, again, a fraud who's been exposed, who was never good to begin with, and is getting older. Mackenzie Dern, one-dimensional bum who's only good for her looks. And you got Angela Hill in the top 10? Like, what a joke. And then Tabitha Ritchie, Luana Pinheiro, she sucks. Like, come on. Like, what are we doing? Like, women's strawweight it's so bad now. How can you look at me with a straight face and tell me this is a good, exciting division? Or that it's anywhere near it was, you know, from 2017, 18, 19, early 2020. Like, there's no freaking way you can tell me this division is good now. So I don't know. I mean, it's going to take a few years for this division to, you know, get its shit together. I don't know when it's going to happen. Hopefully soon enough, but hopefully we get this fight with Tatiana. Wei Li's probably going to lose the belt to Tatiana. And then who knows? Maybe when Wei Li loses, the division might open up. But we need some, like, new, fresh blood in the division. The likes of Lemos and Jandiroba, they got to go. Jessica, you're fun, but you kind of got to go too. Because it's not a good look having a washed-up fighter still holding her spot in the top of the division. Yeah, we need some just new, exciting prospects who are guaranteed to carry this division into a bright future. And if Wei Li beats Tatiana, she might as well just abandon ship, leave the division entirely, pursue that second belt, and just let this weight class, this bum weight class, sort of figure shit out on its own. Because there's really nothing left for her after Tatiana if she wins. If Tatiana wins, I mean, the only thing left for her is maybe a Wei Li rematch. That would be interesting, depending on how she wins. And then she'd have to whoop Lemos' ass or Verna's ass. But Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Am I tripping or am I onto something? Do you guys agree? Am I spitting facts? Like and subscribe and peace out.